Imagine a world 12,000 years ago. Our ancestors were just beginning to settle down. They were learning to farm and build permanent homes. It was a time of great change. And now we've uncovered something amazing from that era. A ritual so old it's hard to wrap our minds around it. This discovery didn't happen overnight. It took years of careful digging and study. The ritual they uncovered was older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge. It reached back to a time when humans were just figuring out how to live together in large groups. What made this discovery so special was its completeness. Often we only find fragments of the past, but this time we had enough to reconstruct the entire ritual.
To understand this ritual, we need to step back in time, way back. 12,000 years ago, the world was a very different place. The last ice age had just ended. Massive glaciers were retreating, leaving behind new landscapes. Our ancestors were adapting to these changes. They were inventing new ways to survive and thrive.
This was the Neolithic period, or New Stone Age. Humans were making a huge shift. They were moving from a nomadic lifestyle to a settled one. Instead of following herds of animals, they were starting to grow their own food. They were building permanent homes and forming larger communities. It was a time of incredible innovation and change.
In this context, rituals became incredibly important. They helped bind communities together. They gave people a sense of identity and purpose. What's truly remarkable about this ritual is its staying power. Think about it. For 12,000 years, people have been performing these same actions. That's 500 generations of humans passing this tradition down. From parent to child, from elder to youth, the ritual has survived.
How many things in our lives can claim such longevity? The language you're reading right now is much younger. The city you live in probably didn't exist 12,000 years ago. Even many of our oldest myths and religions came later. But this ritual has endured through all of that. It's a living link to our most distant past.
Of course, the ritual hasn't remained exactly the same. Over time, it's evolved. Different cultures have added their own touches. The basic structure has stayed intact, but the details have shifted. Let's take a moment to appreciate what 500 generations really means. If we assume about 25 years between generations, that's 12,500 years. That's older than any city, any nation, any empire. It's a chain of human connection stretching back to the very dawn of civilization.
Imagine the scene. A parent takes their child aside. Watch carefully, they say. This is important. They demonstrate the ritual step by step. The child observes, tries to mimic the actions. It's not perfect at first, but over time, with practice, they get it right. And then, years later, that child, now grown, teaches their own offspring. The cycle continues unbroken.
Section 5. Decoding the ritual's significance. So what exactly is this ritual, and why has it been so important for so long? The details are fascinating. At its core, it's a fertility ritual, but not just for humans. It's about the fertility of the land, of animals, of the entire natural world. The ritual involves a series of symbolic actions. Participants mimic the act of planting seeds. They make gestures that represent rain falling and the sun shining. There are dance-like movements that imitate the growth of plants. And there are sounds, not quite words, but vocalizations that might represent wind or animal calls.
What's striking is how universal these themes are. Every culture on Earth has some form of fertility ritual. We all depend on the natural world for survival, and we've all sought ways to ensure good harvests and healthy offspring.
Section 6. The ritual in practice. A step-by-step guide. Let's walk through the ritual as best we understand it. It begins at dawn, as the sun is just peeking over the horizon. The participants gather in a circle, facing east. They're dressed simply, often in white or earth tones. Some may wear special headdresses or carry symbolic objects. The leader of the ritual steps into the center of the circle. They raise their arms to the sky and make a series of calls or chants. The others respond in kind. It's like a conversation with the universe.
Then, one by one, each person takes a handful of seeds. They mime the act of planting, scattering the seeds in a spiral pattern from the center outward. Next comes the dance. It's not complex, but it is meaningful. Participants sway like wheat in the wind. They crouch low, then slowly rise, mimicking growing plants.
Section 7. Surprising discoveries and intriguing anecdotes. As archaeologists studied this ritual, they made some fascinating discoveries. For one, they found that the ritual wasn't just performed by adults. There's evidence that children were active participants. Tiny handprints have been found alongside adult ones in ritual spaces. It seems the tradition was truly a family affair. Another interesting find was the presence of musical instruments. Simple flutes made from bird bones have been uncovered at ritual sites. These flutes are among the oldest known musical instruments in the world. It adds a whole new dimension to our understanding of the ritual. Imagine the haunting melodies that must have accompanied the ceremony.
One particularly intriguing discovery was a set of carved figurines.
Section 8. The ritual's impact on early human societies. The discovery of this ritual has forced us to rethink our understanding of early human societies. For one thing, it shows a level of social organization we didn't expect to see so early. To perform and maintain such a complex ritual over time requires cooperation and shared beliefs. It suggests these early communities were more sophisticated than we thought.
The ritual also gives us insight into early human thought. It shows that our ancestors were capable of abstract thinking and symbolism. They could represent complex ideas through simple actions. They understood the concept of cause and effect, even if they explained it through supernatural means. This ritual was, in a way, their science.
Moreover, the ritual tells us about early human relationships with the natural world. It wasn't adversarial. Our ancestors saw themselves as part of nature, not separate from it.
Is Section 9, Preserving the Past Modern Efforts to Safeguard the Ritual. The discovery of this ancient ritual has sparked a global effort to preserve it. Archaeologists and anthropologists are working tirelessly to document every aspect of the ceremony. They're using cutting-edge technology to create three-dimensional models of ritual sites. These models will allow future generations to study the ritual in detail, even if the physical sites are lost.
But preservation isn't just about documentation. There's also a movement to keep the ritual alive in practice. In some parts of the world, communities are reviving the ancient ceremony. They're not doing it exactly as their ancestors did, that would be impossible to know for sure. But they're capturing the spirit of the ritual, adapting it for modern times.
These efforts raise interesting questions about cultural ownership and authenticity. Who has the right to perform this ritual?
Section 10. Lessons from the Ancients, What We Can Learn Today. As we study this 12,000-year-old ritual, it's natural to ask, what can it teach us? One clear lesson is the importance of community. This ritual wasn't performed alone. It brought people together, strengthening social bonds. In our often isolated modern world, we might do well to remember the power of shared experiences.
Another lesson is the value of connecting with nature. Our ancestors understood their dependence on the natural world. They expressed gratitude for it through ritual. Today, when many of us are cut off from nature, this reminder seems especially poignant. Perhaps we need our own rituals to reconnect with the earth.
The ritual also teaches us about the power of symbolism and metaphor. Through simple actions, our ancestors expressed complex ideas about life, death, and renewal.
Section 11. The timeless nature of human tradition. As we come to the end of our exploration, let's reflect on what this 12,000-year-old ritual means for us today. It's easy to feel disconnected from the past. Our world is so different from that of our ancient ancestors. We have technologies they couldn't have imagined. We face challenges they never encountered. But this ritual shows us that in many ways, we're not so different.
We still seek meaning in our lives. We still try to understand our place in the world. We still come together to share important moments. These are timeless human needs, as relevant now as they were 12,000 years ago.
The survival of this ritual also speaks to the power of tradition. In a world that often values the new over the old, it's worth remembering that some things endure for a reason. Traditions can anchor us.